Hey everyone, this is Leanne from Of Love and Shiplap and the founder of That Tutorials and More. Please be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you never miss out on any new videos, and check the video description for a link to the That Learning Library app. Inside of our mobile/web app, you can access all of our free tutorials in our neatly organized content library, as well as subscribe for access to exclusive content, community, and courses. In this tutorial, I am going to be showing you how to laser cut and engrave a learning puzzle. I found just a great collection of learning puzzles on Creative Fabrica, and this is a great idea for anyone who is catering to kids or teachers. This can work for both demographics, whether you want to do for parents or you want to do for teachers to use with their students. There are so many different types of learning projects out there that the sky is really the limit if you are in the sphere that focuses on education of children. I really love this puzzle idea, and as soon as I saw, I knew some friend who would be the perfect recipient of this item. So she's going to be my guinea pig for this tutorial. We're just going to be using some simple balsam wood. It's like a very lightweight soft wood, and it's perfect for this kind of project. You can leave something like this unfinished, or you can choose to paint it yourself. A lot of people really like using paint markers for this kind of thing, so you can choose to do something like that or just leave it unfinished. For me, I'll be leaving this one unfinished, but I do recommend that you do what you like for your business. Items like this are very, very profitable right now as more and more people are looking to homeschool, are being part of homeschool co-ops, as teacher funding continues to be on the decline and teachers are always looking for new things for their classrooms. And they're just great for those who enjoy having educational toys in the home. So it's the kind of product that you can market all year round, and there are so many different variations. We're just going to do one. So let's go ahead and get everything into our laser. We'll start with that. We'll start with getting the wood set up in our Flux Beambox 255 watt CO2 laser, and then we'll do the walkthrough in Beam Studio to send it off. There's not really a whole lot else to do. It's a pretty straightforward project, and it should go quick enough. I think the cut time will be a little bit longer on this just because there's a lot of cut pieces, and typically when you are cutting something with wood, then the speed is going to be slower while the power is higher. If you are interested in learning more about the Flux Beambox 255 watt CO2 laser and all of the things that it can do, be sure to check out our introduction video where we really kind of covered in depth getting it unboxed, getting it set up, and all of the things that it can do. And we did a couple of test projects just to show you how user-friendly it is right out of the box. I'm not saying there's not a learning curve, but it's definitely a lot easier than you probably are anticipating. So let's go ahead and pop on over to our laser and get started. We're going to go ahead and place our wood in the bed of our laser. Now we don't need to raise or lower the bed this time because it's already at the right height. So we're just going to tap our little circle arrows so that we can move the laser over top of our substrate. We're then going to lower the peg that is next to the laser and tap the autofocus button where it says AF on our laser panel screen. The machine is going to adjust itself accordingly to where it needs to be for the laser. We then want to raise that peg back up, and once we lower the lid, we are good to go. Let's go ahead and open up our Beam Studio and set our file up. Beam Studio is the software that comes with your Flux Beambox 2 55 watt CO2 laser. It includes a variety of tools for setting up your designs, and you can also do some design creation and editing with the features and functions that are here. Overall, if you're someone who purchases designs ready-made or prefer to make your own in a program like Affinity Designer, you'll mostly use Beam Studio to set up all of your parameters for the actual cutting and engraving of your materials. We are using a pre-created design today from a bundle of learning games from Creative Fabrica. You can find it linked below this video. We're going to import our file by coming to the image icon in the left sidebar and then selecting one of our files. Now, all of these are different versions of vector files, so you can actually use any of them within this software. I'm grabbing the SVG version. It's going to ask you which layering style you would like, and I'm going to choose color, which is going to assign each layer a different color. Now it's a little bit off my canvas, so I'm going to zoom over and move it over so we can actually see it and work with it. We need to make a couple of modifications before we send this off to our laser. So first, we want to get it the correct size. These two back pieces are connected, as we can see right here. So I'm going to come to Edit and select Ungroup. This will then allow me to move this one single piece on its own. I'm going to move this to its own new layer by clicking on the plus sign at the bottom of that layers panel to create a new layer. And then with this piece selected, going to where it says Move Elements To and selecting Layer 1. Now I want to resize everything so it's the correct size for what we are going to be cutting. I think that the wood that I have is 12 inches by 12 inches, and we're going to do about 10.5 inches, so we'll have just a little bit of wood waste, nothing too crazy. That is going to come to 266.7 millimeters. So with my layer selected, I am going to come to the control panel of our path, and I am going to enter in 266.7. Because it's a square, it doesn't matter which one you do first, width or height. As long as you have your aspect ratio locked, it's going to adjust it proportionally. While we are here, we also want to get rid of that fill. When something is filled, the machine reads that as an engraving. When it is not filled, it reads it as a cutting. So we do want to make sure that we have that not filled so the machine recognizes that it's supposed to cut this, not engrave this. Back over on our layers panel, I'm actually going to go ahead and hide this layer because I'm going to be cutting out my base layer from a 1/8 inch thick wood that's a bit thinner, because that's just a good option for backing for something like this. But the actual pieces that we have in front of us, this is going to be cut from 1/4 inch wood, which is a little bit thicker and will be, very durable with small hands that will play with this. Now we want to go ahead and resize this and also make sure to make those adjustments for cutting versus engraving. So with all of those layers selected, I'm going to select my control panel icon again, and once again enter in those measurements, which was 266.7 millimeters. Back over in our layers panel, we want to select each layer individually. So if we just kind of hide these, you can see the difference in them. So with that base layer selected first, we're going to come to that control panel and we're going to make sure to choose that no fill option. So it should only look like an outline. And then we'll come up to our next layer and we're going to do the same thing. I think that we need to ungroup this first. There we go. So I had to ungroup all of those. They're still within the same layer, so not moving around, but then I can remove the infill. And then my top layer, we can make that visible again. This is my engraving layer. So now that we have designated what is going to be filled versus not, so that the laser will know engraving versus cutting, we're going to select our parameters for each layer. So that top layer is our engraving layer. So we will come down to our presets and choose wood engraving. The next two layers are going to be cut layers. And as I mentioned, we are using 1/4 inch thick wood, which is about 6-ish millimeters. So I'm going to do the 7 millimeter setting just to make sure we get cut all the way through. Now that we have set everything for these layers, we can go ahead and get our bed scan done so we can align everything. You're going to select the image icon or the camera icon at the top for your preview. It's going to home the laser, and once it gives you the go ahead and you have that little camera with plus sign, you just click and drag across the whole thing to generate our preview. So this will give us an image of our wood inside, and we will be able to line up our design on there and send it off. Now our first cut with all of this, with the engraving and the cutting of the thicker wood, is going to take a little bit longer. It's probably going to take about 30, 35 minutes, I'm guessing. Might be a little closer to 40, but it's going to be about that long for this step. And then the second cut run will just be that 1/4 inch thick wood, and it's just going to be going around that outer edge. So it actually should not take too long. I'd guess probably like 5-8 minutes for that one, since it is thinner wood that it will be cutting, and it's just that outer edge. Once we have a nice good image scan, we can click that exit preview button, which is that little swoop back arrow. Click and drag to select all of our layers, center them on our board, and click our little play button to get it to generate its path and determine the runtime. I am unsure why we're seeing that. There we go. It looked like there was a little error when I popped it open, but once we did it, it recalculated. And as I suspected, you can see that it's 42 minutes. I figured it'd be, somewhere, what did I say, 35-ish or so. So pretty good ballpark. Once you get used to using this, you're going to have a good rough idea of how long certain things take. We can go ahead and click start, and this is going to send this off to laser cut and engrave. Now that our main part is done, we are going to just click all of that, and we'll go ahead and delete it. Unless you want to save it for the future. If you're plan on doing these again, you can always save all of this for the future so that your settings are ready for you. I'm going to make that original layer visible again and move it in. Now I need to do a new bed scan because I've put in that new piece of wood. So we're going to come to our camera button for our preview, select the camera with the plus sign. Oops. Okay. Once it resets itself, we'll go ahead and do a new scan. There we go. I am moving faster than the program can. All right, let's try that again. So click and drag across to get our new preview. And once we have that, we'll go ahead and just center our last cut right on there. And this one should only take a few minutes because it's just this outline piece to use for the backing of our puzzle. All right, so we'll exit our preview mode. We'll go ahead and center that backing. We're going to come down to our parameters and choose our cutting. So we'll do wood 5mm cutting for this one because it is the the 1/8 inch thick wood, so it's a bit thinner. Then we'll go ahead and hit that. As you can see, it's only going to take 2 minutes, and send it off. So we have all of our pieces cut, and now we just want to assemble our puzzle. You can always look around to see if there's any areas that need a little light sanding. Overall, I think our engraving looks great. Although I'm not going to color our pieces, I'm going to leave that up for the kid. I am thinking that I'm going to apply some stain just to kind of help bring out the natural wood color and bring out our engraving as well. And then I'll leave these pieces unfinished, I think. And that way they can be colored and put in there however my friend would like to do. So we need to just glue our two pieces together. Since this is wood, we can just use standard wood glue. I'm using Gorilla Glue. This is my preferred wood glue. And we're going to be generous enough. We want to make sure this stays together. Some people like to roll glue on for something like this. That's always an option as well. Or use a paintbrush. I'm really just gonna rub it all around. My main hope is that it doesn't ooze out the sides. I think we have it adequately covered with glue. So let's go ahead and line this up. So I have it dried, I have it lined up. I'm gonna put a little something heavy on this just to kind of hold it down. We've got this container of ribbon. I think that'll work. Give it a little bit of pressure. So we'll check back on that in a couple of minutes. Wood glue doesn't take too long to dry. I think it's officially dried within an hour, but it'll be, good to go, so to speak, within about 15-20 minutes. I remembered after the fact that I actually have these clamps. I'm sure that they're just from Harbor Freight, but I will link a version of them. You can see they are 2-inch spring clamps. This is exactly the kind of thing that I use them for, usually just holding wood in place while glue is drying. I want to say that when I got these, they were only $2 or $3 each, and I have 12 of them. So we're going to bring some upstairs to have for our laser. Our learning puzzle is all set. Like I said, you can choose to paint yours with paint markers if you want. I think I am going to stain mine for this portion. I'm going to leave these uncolored. But whatever you decide to do, you can sell it as is, just like this. All you're going to do is put your pieces back in, And then my recommendation would be to put a shrink wrap around this so that it keeps all the pieces in. You could also choose to put it in like a t-shirt bag if you have one that's tight enough, but shrink wrap is probably going to be the best option and make this the easiest to sell in general. If you're at a market or something and it's shrink wrapped, it's easy for people to just grab and go. You can slap your logo on it, and any like care instructions if you want to include something like that on the back, such as like what type of materials they could use to paint or decorate. You could also advertise this as a paint your own puzzle kit, which is just another idea for marketing. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.